All right. Good evening, everyone. I trust we had an amazing day. How was work? Hope today was not stressful for every one of us. Okay, so without wasting too much of our time, we quickly go into the session because we have a few minutes. Um, we'll kick off from when we left off in last class. We were trying to do a few things. I had a few challenge. The system I used last time was so longer here, so I just try to get another system. So quickly, let me open. Let me share my screen. I think I've not done that. Okay. If I share my plan, can I share too? Okay. I think the system is coming up now. All right. Good. So I will be. I didn't. I didn't. Okay. I think this will do. Okay. So quickly, I will just try to rewrite the code while I explain. So first thing first, the basic structure is this, and we were trying to build. Let's just call it YouTube clone or YouTube page clone. So for what we explain in layout, and I remember I also said we should go ahead to conclude some of the parts, so I'll quickly rush through. So we talked about the box model, how each of those thumbnail were structured. So first thing first, let's try to build one of them and we'll go step by step. I will not waste too much of your time. We talked about div, we'll be going from there. And inside this, that's the entire body. Let me give it a name, maybe, so sorry, my system is trying to predict what is my mind. So I'll give it a class. Let's call this row. Thumbnail. Let's call it thumbnail. Let's call it video review. Now that's the entire box. So we have two sections. Let's say another div here. I'll be a little bit fast because we've already concluded this part. So here, this one will be for our image. Let's say thumbnail. Okay, video thumbnail. I think I like that. Video thumbnail. And this one, let's give it a class of maybe we can say video info, like that. So here our what's it called now? We'll be having our image. I'm not sure if you can see the whole screen. Let me share the entire screen here. Let me try to share the entire screen. Let me share the entire screen. Okay, so I'll just let me open my live server so that I can as well see what I'm doing. Sorry for that background noise. Okay, so this is the view. The first part is our image. If you look at the entire diagram very well, and close this up. All right, the thumbnail. Let's put in our image here. Our image. So this is where the image will be. Let me call it. Every image must have a source. I think I have an image on my folder here. It's inside the folder. Now I talked about 5 parts in the last class, that we have a relative 5 part and an absolute 5 part. So a relative 5 part is when the file you are looking for, the location to the file is closer to the file from which you want to search the other file from. An absolute 5 part is when you are given a specific location that is not within the page. So because I've already structured my files here, I have an image here called thumbnail inside the folder. So I'll just go to into that file and then get the picture there. So this is an absolute 5 part because I had to enter into a particular folder within that directory to locate the file that I'm looking for. Okay, so you can see the entire file covers the whole page. Don't worry, let's do it together. So I'm just combining what we did in the last class so that we can go a bit faster. CSS, we are using the embedded CSS now. Style. My system always tries to predict what's in my mind. Okay, so first let's target this class right here. Since we are using a class, so we use a dot on our CSS to get that. Let me set the width. Let's say maybe width of maybe 300 pixels. Let's see what that gives us. Now, let's also target the image. Let me give it a class, at least so to reduce the size. Let's call the thumbnail. Let me target that one here. Dot thumbnail. We can set it. Now, if I want it to take the width of its container, I can simply set the width to maybe like 100%. You can set the width to 100%, and you see this thumbnail right here. Let me collapse that. Maybe you didn't see what I'm doing. Let me set a background color at least. I set a background color. I didn't know what color that is. And let me reduce this one to like 50 pixels so that you see. Let me give this one a red. Yes. Now you can see the red part is my thumbnail, is my div. The red portion is a div that contains that image. So I just put that red there so that you see what's happening. So I want the image to fit in that container. So that was why I set this one here to 100%, simply to take the exact width of the container. So which means if I increase this one to 500 here, the image should also increase in the same proportion. So that's how that one goes. Let me just set it back to 300 and remove this red background color here. Okay, the second part here, if you look at the image we are looking at here, we've successfully done this part of the image. Let's go to the down part, which contain the profile picture and all other description about the video. So right inside this place, we will create some horizontal layer. Let's set up two divs here. Let's say maybe div. We have one div, then another div. Let's call this. Let's give it a class of that one should be. Let's make it our channel. Let's call it profile picture. Let's say channel picture. Alright, so I will need another image here, and I will use a relative file path here because this is the index and the image and I'm accessing is beside my index. So this kind of part is what we refer to as a relative file path. The file I'm looking for is directly beside uh, the location where I'm requesting from. So I'll just call the name. This is an absolute path. Unlike this one, I just try to show you the two ways. That's why I'm using two different uh, systems now. But normally, you will want to use an absolute file path. That's the best practice. But for the sake of showing you what is what, which one is relative and which one is absolute, that's why I'm using the two of them. So for a best practice, it is advised that you use an absolute file path. All right, I hope you get that. So that's the image right there. We can also set a class if we want to, but let's go further a bit. Here, let's give it a class. Let's call this one maybe video description. So inside this video description, if you see the image again, this is the part we are looking at. Can I shade something? If I can edit. Okay, I think I can edit with it. All right. So we have the channel picture here. Then we have other details at the other side. So that's what we are trying to achieve here. Now, one thing I want you to know is that the layout under that, let me separate this so that you can see what I'm talking about. This is our thumbnail image there. This is the description category, literally this part. And if you look inside, we have two div. This one has already carried the video info, carries the channel picture and the description. So in the description, one of the things we have there, let's set a paragraph there, maybe. I think there are about two or so. Okay, three. So let's say so maybe we can call this first paragraph video. Let's give it a class. Let's say maybe yes, video title. That's good. Let's say another class here. And let's say channel name. And then maybe video start. Okay, perfect. So we have web development class. So on our title, let's say maybe web development class 3 or 2.0. So let's say the channel name, let's say maybe from InnovaTech. let's set up. Oh, perfect. So my system is helping me out really well. All this. Okay. So you can see the whole stuff right there. I just removed the image so that you can see what's going on now, but let me add some colors here so that you can differentiate what I'm doing. On the preview, on the thumbnail, let's set a background color. Background color of red, so you can see that. Let me also resize this image. Let me set a class of logo, just simply. And set a class of logo. I don't need this, just the height alone. Then the video description, I'm going to remove it, but just so you see what I'm doing clearly. Background color, let's set that to okay, blue, suggesting blue. All right. Okay. The first, my preview is now whisper. Video preview. Video preview. Let's set background color of red. Yes, the red part is the entire preview. The red part is the entire preview. The image, let's bring back our image. Let's bring back our image. This is the red part. Our video thumbnail is also there. So let's bring back our image. So we said image. Okay, let me print this other one too, so that you can see the channel picture part. Okay, let's do video description. Video description. Okay, it's already blue. That's good. So let's do the channel picture too. Let's do channel picture. background color. I don't need too many color, just white is okay. All right. So this is the layout that you are seeing. So let's go one after the other now. The preview is the entire container that carries everything. The thumbnail is where we have our bigger picture, set our image if you remember. Image, let me quickly do that. Set. I think it's thumbnail. So we now have our image. Now remember that we set the width of our video thumbnail, which is the div of our image here, the video thumbnail. We set it to 300 pixels here. So for the preview, let's also set a width for that, width 300 pixels. So if we do that, we can actually remove this one because it's going to take the exact size of the container. So that's what we are seeing. Now this white area is the profile picture, but you see we are imputing that in a div, and I told you last time that a div is a block level element. A div is a block level element. So we have two div here, one for the logo here, one for this start here. So we want them to stay side by side. So one of the things we can do is to set them to inline block, if you remember from the last class. So this one, actually this one came first. So let me put it on top here. Right. So we can set this to display inline block, and then also set this one to display inline block. So with this, they can both be side by side. But if you look at it, it's like they are not saying side by side. Why? Because if I reduce this one maybe like 10 pixels, sorry. Now you see, they are now side by side, but my image here is too small, and this is one of the problem we have with div. Let me bring this up a bit, maybe 30. You can see they are now side by side, but the issue here is there is a space in between this place, and there's also space here. Remember we set the preview here, the width to be 300, and already the logo is already 30. So that means we have a space of about 270. Where are you again? A width of 270 for the description. That's why you are seeing this red part here. And this is the problem with div. You see there is a space. If you go back to this way, there is actually a space between this place and this place. And that's why this space is here. So if I delete this space now, let me try to get rid of this space. If I should delete this space, now you see that the tiny space we have here has been closed. but code now is not readable. And this is why we'll be using another form of this div. So I'll break it. So I will change my display. Remember, this logo and this blue area, they are both together in one div, which is the video info. So I will target this video info here. So I will just come here. I'll target this video info, which is the container that they are both sitting in. I'll target that. So first thing I will do, let me remove this inline block for the two of them. So I've removed the inline block. You can see they are all taking their space. So what I can do, another display I can use on this type of scenario is a grid. Let's say display. You can also use flex actually, but let's use grid. Time will not permit us. I would have demonstrated with both of them. Let's use grid. And if I set grid, one other thing I can set, a grid is like, think about a grid like a table in your normal Microsoft Word. When you insert a table, it has a specific number of rows and columns. That's an example of a grid. Another example can be a crate of egg. If you look at a crate of egg, is also an example of a grid. You know, each of those pots are in a specific row and column. Another can be a crate of drinks. If you buy a carton of malt, it's arranged in a grid. That's a grid, a row and a column. So that's a typical example of a grid. So we are setting this container, the video container, as a grid. And if we are setting a grid, we have to specify the number of columns. So how do we do that? We use the grid template column to do that. And I set the image because we are having right here, we're talking about this grid, this video info, this div that is called video info. And inside it, if I separate this for you, we have this div, which is our channel picture, and then we have this other div, which is the video description. And you can now see I now have the video info set to grid, and I specify that the first size, the first column should be of size 250 pixels, and then the other part, sorry, my system was the one that suggested 1FR. I was still going to talk about it. So let's say we set this one to, we already have 50. Now remember, the width, the general width was 300. So that means here can be 250 pixels. Now, you see, because we have set that to 250 people, you see they are well positioned side by side, both the logo and the start. Okay. Now, but a few challenge is if your page should resize, maybe you are having a smaller screen, you want things to fit in nicely. If you have set a particular width, like what we did here, it means this div here will not be flexible on smaller screen. And that's why we are using 1FR. 1FR. maybe let me create a new file here. Let's call this test.html so that we can understand what I'm saying. Alright, so let me quickly create a div. Let's call it container. A div. My system don't want to suggest. Okay, div. Let's set a class of container. Time. And then I will just close that div. So let's say we have two other div inside. Let's call this or let's style it. Let's style that. I'm not setting display. Let's style it. So let's say maybe background color, let's say red. And also let me put something here. Let's say maybe div1, and this one becomes our div2. And let me also copy this style here and paste it there. I will just change this background color to, let's say, blue. Okay, let me open this in a browser so that you see what we have right there. This is what we have. So if I target, remember from this example, these two div, this div1 and div2 is inside this div called container. So let me quickly style that. Remember, we want to demonstrate grid. So if I set the display, if I set the target the container right there, I set the display to grid, and then grid dash template column. Now we did 50 pixels by 1, let's make by 200 pixels. Now if you see what happened here, you discover grid. My grid is not spelled correctly. Good. Now you discover these objects are side by side now. The red part takes a width of 50 pixels and the other blue takes a width of 200 pixels. We still have space. If I should resize my page now, it doesn't affect the sizes I have set, and this is a disadvantage, especially to the example we are trying to look into. So if I want that div to take a particular div to take the entire width, so that's when I can use one fr. Fr there means free space, one free space. What I'm actually saying is I have two div in this container. The first div should take this width, while the other div should take the remaining space. Unlike the one we said 250, the second div should take 250. But for this one fr simply means the second div should take the remaining space after the first div have taken a space of 50. So if you look at what we have on the screen now, you see the blue line stretch to cover the entire space that is remaining. So if I reduce my page, if the window screen reduces, the other blue takes the remaining space. So it adjusts automatically with the space. So that's the difference between setting a definite width and using the one fr. Okay. I can also set both to be one fr. If I say one fr, I'm simply saying the both of them should take the entire space and divide it between themselves. You see, the both of them will both take equal space available and they will adjust accordingly. So that's the difference between one fr and setting a definite width. If we go back to the work we are doing, if we go back there, I think we are here. So I will just set this one to one fr. So this is what we now have. So from here, I can just remove this. I can also remove this. I can also remove that. So you see everything sits properly. But then you discover they don't have the same height. The height of the image here and the height of this are not the same. And the reason is simple. The reason is that divs always, they always take um, by default, div, they usually come with extra margin. Extra margin. I think we talked on that last time. So how do I deal with that? I will just target my paragraphs here, and then remove all the default margin that may come with it. So I will just target that and set margin to 0. So you see, the spaces that are after every of the paragraphs has been removed. So this is how please kindly mute yourself. Okay. So one thing we can also do with our paragraph, let's just quickly change the font. Let's set the font family. Let's set that to Arial. Then I'm giving it a backup font of sans serif. So that's what I'm doing here. Now, let's style this. We are looking at this image here. This is what we are looking at, trying to get one of these. The moment we get it, it's easier to get all others. So let's quickly, the video title now. Let me remove this red. Okay. What was that targeting? video title. So I can remove this now. Then I target the video title. Then I can set font size of maybe, let's say 14 pixels, and see what that gives us. Then let's say font weight, let's set that to bold. Okay, maybe let me bring it up to 15 pixels. All right, so next let's target the channel name and the video starts, and I think they both have the same style, the same size, so let's target it. Let's target the channel name. Let's set font size is suggesting 13. Let me go with maybe 11 pixels. Okay, I think that is better. Then let me set color to gray. Let me make it a bit lighter, like that. Yes. So since the channel name and video start looks alike, so just like we did in our last class, I can combine those two classes together like that, and they will share the same. Remember I told you, don't repeat yourself. Don't repeat yourself. So we are avoiding that here. We don't want to repeat ourselves. So one other thing I can do, if you look at the diagram here, there is a space between this. Let's try to give in that space. Let's try to give in that space. So we'll be targeting where our image is, which is the video thumbnail. The video thumbnail. So here we can set a margin button to maybe 10 pixels. Button. Sorry, I got this spelling wrong. That's too much. Let's say maybe 6 pixels. Okay, I think 6 pixels is okay. So let's go to the title right here. I'll just set a margin button of maybe 8 pieces. Let's see what that gives us. Alright, I think that is okay. And also let me target maybe the channel name and give it a margin of 4 pixels. Good, perfect. So we have successfully built the first part, but then let me also target this because I think, yes, it's a round. It's a round channel picture. So let's take the channel picture. Let's target this channel picture. Have I targeted it before? No. Okay. So channel picture. Let's set the border radius. To make it round, we want to set the border radius. I will just set it to 50 pixels so that I take it half. Of course, you can't see it, but it's round. The logo itself, it's white. Please, if at any moment this class goes off, I'll try to create another link and put it on the group so that we can rejoin. At least so we can go very far on this. Okay. So if I'm satisfied with what I have done here, so let me try to duplicate this. Let me just collapse this and let me duplicate it, maybe, I don't know, 4 times. So you see, but something is happening here. If I go to my, let me inspect the browser, so I'll show you. You discover it's still taking the entire space. Let's go to elements and let's look at that. Now each of them are sitting on a different line. Each of them are sitting on a different line. So how do we stop this? How do we stop this? Let's go back to our CSS. Remember, we have our, let me show you from here, this video preview containing the details, and I've duplicated them here. This is another video preview, this is another video preview, this is another preview. That's why you have all this preview on the screen. So let's go to our CSS, and here where we set the width, we can set also the display as inline block, just like we've been doing. So you see, they are still not responding. They are still not responding. And why is it not responding? It is because the preview has a definite width. It has a definite width. And so we are about to eradicate that width now. We eradicate that width now. And how do we do that? Where is it? Right, this place. You see, this is where the problem is. So how do we target all this? So a best option is, I'm going to put all of that code in another div. So let's set a div. Let's give it a class of video grid right there. So I will copy the whole of these videos. Let me copy to this point, and I'll cut it, and I'll put it in another container like this. So all of those videos are now in a container. So I can now target this video grid. Let's see, and then we'll set the display to a grid. Yes, you can now see. is now resizing with the page. So, but we want them side by side. How do we achieve that? We set it to grid. We set the number of grid, the columns, grid templates, column. Let's say we just want 3 columns. So I will just say maybe 1 FR, 1 FR, 1 FR. So you see now, they are now 3 columns. So, but they are joined together. I need to create a space. How do we create that space? Now this is opening us up to other styles we can use alongside the grid. One of them is the grid template column. Another one is the column gap. Column gap, that's the gap between the columns, and then the gaps around the row is the row gap. Row gap, let's say maybe 30 pixels. Yes, let's see the image. Okay, the gap here is still a little bit tiny, and our own is a bit wider. So let's set this one to maybe, let's see, 15 pixels. Let's say 10 pixels. All right, perfect. So this is what we now have. You see, the more I resize the page, the more the grid resize itself. So I can decide to even make it 1 FR. Let me change it to 4 columns. 4 columns. 1 FR, please. Now you see, and I have 4 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, and all of them are resizing themselves. Okay, so it maintains 4 column all through. So we will still come more dynamic. Let me just make it 3. So that you can view it properly. So we have successfully achieved this grid. You see, it has rounded corner. You can demonstrate with that so that you see how that is done. It's all about border radius, as simple as that. And how do we do that? Just target your image right here. There's it, the thumbnail, the video thumbnail. Just come to the video thumbnail here, right here. Just border radius, we can say maybe 10 pixels. So you can joke around with that. Don't know why it's not coming up. Am I styling the right one? Okay, thumbnail, not thumbnail. Right here. Let's say border radius 10 pixels. So see, it now has a round border. So I think that is concluded. Let's go to the head part of it. And how do we achieve that? Okay, maybe at this time we have to separate this style so that we'll not have too many codes here. All I just need to do is to create a new file and just say maybe style.css, and I'll just bring in all the CSS code there, all this code. So I can delete this style here, and here I'll bring in all my style. So, but you can see my page has been scattered. Why? Because it's no longer locating the style. All I just need to do is to link up the style with link style sheet. I think my code just helped me. So the style is back. All right. Please, do I have anybody that have any question? This class will be up in 10 minutes, 7 minutes, I guess. Any questions so far? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
At the moment, I don't have
Yes,
any
again.
questions. I came in late. I came in late. I apologize for that. But I will make sure I report your video.
Okay. Okay. Oluwatomiwa, do you have any question?
No, currently.
Okay, no, currently. All right.
Yes, sir.
So let's go to the head part here. This is the head section of what we are trying to achieve. Um, uh, Let me close this one so that I can see. So this is my head part here. All I just need to do, guys, we are just working with div. I'll just say maybe div, uh, let me call it header. I'm giving it a class of header. Now, if you look at the header here, it's divided into maybe 3 or 4 sections. We have from this, the left part to this part, and we have the search box here, and then we have the other right part here. So how do we do that? Let me create 3 div. I don't know. My system always doesn't want me to feel disappointed. So let's call this part. Let's give it a class. Let's give it a class of maybe let's say side one, or side left. Then maybe let's give this one a class. Let's say maybe middle, and let's give this one another class, maybe side right. Okay. So let's take them one after the other. But before we do that, let me write the styles in the head. So before we move it, so that will not be jumping back and forth. Let's create another style. It's already trying to predict for me. Okay, so let's target the header right here. This one. We target the header, and let's set, now it's a div. Let's set the background color so that we can even see background color of red. Is it there at all? So sorry. Oh, having 3 minutes more. 3 minutes more. That's not bad. Let's give a height of maybe 80 pixels. So you see, because what's happening? Because a div is a block level element, it tries to push the other element we already have there. It tries to push it down. Okay, so that's a good characteristic of block level element. So, but if you notice, there are spaces around the page, and it's because we still have some space there on the body. So let me target the body. That's the body of the page. I'll set the margin to 0. So all those white spaces around the body has been removed. So I want to push this grid down a little bit. Let me push the grid down from the body. Let me push down the grid so I can set the body. Let's give an inner padding. Let's give a padding top. I told you padding is the space inside, margin is the space outside. Okay. Let me turn this off. All right. So where we are at the padding. So I'm going to set a padding of 80 pixels. Now, why 80 pixels? Now you see, the moment I set the padding to 80 pixels, it also pushed down the heading, which is not what I also want. I only wanted to push the grid part. So how do I resolve this? So let's go back to our header. We are going to do something about our header. We're going to set the position to fix and then set it to fix at the top. Now, the moment we set fix at the top, we can also set let me get rid of this. Okay, set the eye. Okay, let me leave the background color. Why did you remove it? Let's set the display the position. Let's set it to fix. Let me give now, when you set an object to position fixed, what you are saying is by default, how am I going to explain this? Position is how you place elements on your page. There is an absolute positioning, there is a relative positioning, and there is a fixed positioning. Now, by default, every element is placed on a relative position. That's why you see the moment you insert anything, the moment you bring a div, an image, a paragraph, whatever, the position it assumes on that page is a relative position. So by default, every element on your web is positioned by default relatively. Now, there is also an absolute positioning. An absolute positioning is actually a type of position that a child assumes over the parent. What do I mean? When you set an element to be positioned as absolute, that element will be positioned relatively to its parent element, not to the browser now. A relative positioning position an element by default on the browser. Usually, it position that element relatively to the browser page. Absolute position an element relative to the position of the parent. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Okay, so I will set the left and the right also to be 0 because I want it to stretch. Just want to see. All right, so it has now shifted. So let me demonstrate again with positioning so that we can get it. This was the other example we did on test. Okay, now the moment I inserted, let me take this away. Let me take one of this away. So I'm only left with, let me put on the straight line. I'm only left with this. Yes. I have the container here with only one div inside. If I refresh, so that's what you have. Let me set an height to my container here. And let me even remove the display and all. So let me set a width of maybe 100 pixels, maybe a height of 100 pixels also, and maybe a background color of let's say that. Now the moment you inserted this container, the position it takes is the relative position to the browser, and obviously the relative position begins from the top left corner of the browser. So any element you inserted now, we assume this same position. So this is a relative position. Now, I don't need to tell this container to take that position. It is the default position of the browser. So if I want to alter that position, I can say, for instance, if you see there is this red on it, let me target that red. Doesn't have a name. Okay, let me remove this guy here. Let's give it a class. Let me give it a class of maybe div1, like that. So I'll target div1, and let's give it a width, height 50. Okay, I think that would do. Right, you see, it also is position relative to the browser. They all begin from the top left corner of the page. So if I try to move it, let's say maybe left of maybe 20 pixels, it doesn't move. It doesn't move. Okay, now look at something. If I set the positioning of the parent or even the child, let's just say position relative. The moment I do that, you see, I can now move this object across the browser. So let me set this one back to, let's say, right. If I say right, set it to 0, what I mean is it should go towards the right by 0 pixels. So it will dash toward the right. If I save it, why are you not moving? I'm gonna save it. Okay, let me just give a ridiculous size here. Why are you not moving? My system is struggling. Alright, so you see, it has moved straight to 1000 pixels towards the right. So let me reduce the size there. Maybe let me set it to 0. Or let me say maybe 200, so that at least we see it. (300 pixels), I mean. Now it has gone 300 pixels towards the right. That's why it's disappearing. So let me bring it class down a little bit to maybe like 40 pixels. That shouldn't go far. Yes. So you can now see it went 40 pixels. How about if I bring this to left? You see it moves 40 pixels away from the left. So if I want it to stretch, let's practicalize with this upper one. If I want it to stretch from left to right, I can set left, remember, position relative. If I want it to stretch left to right, I'll just set both left and right to be 0 pixel. So that was what I did on position I don't know why this one is not responding. Anyways, I just wanted to demonstrate the positioning. I guess my system is angry. So let's go back to where we left off. So I set it left and right to be 0 so that it can stretch. That was the reason why this red stretches. Now if you see, I also set the top, which means it should not move away from the top. It should sit tight to that top. So let me increase that. Remember we did that in the body. We said let's go back to the body. Let me say maybe 90 so that there will be a space. So you see it has moved away down. Maybe if I say 100 will be too much. Okay, 100 is okay. So but now we are not seeing anything here. Let me try to increase this so that we can be able to scroll. Let's take one preview. In this video preview, let me duplicate this a number of times more so that we can be able to scroll. Yeah, we are now scrolling. I didn't do anything, guys. I just increased the number of the grid so that we can scroll. So you see, even while I scroll, the head is not moving. So that's exactly what we want. So going back to the header parts, okay, I think the header is too big. Let's see. Yeah, let's bring it to like, hope my screen is on 100. It feels like the height is too much. Let's bring it to like maybe 60 pixels. I think 60 pixels is okay. Yeah, 60 pixels is okay. So the space here is too much. I'll go to the style and I will reduce. What is that again? Here, 60. So let's say maybe 70 or 80. I think the gap of 80 is okay that way. Perfect. All right, so let me remove this color from the header, or let me set a gray color, something gray. Yeah. I think this one is okay. So first thing first, let's make these things visible. Let's make it visible. Let's target the left side. Let me see what my system is offering. Width 200. Let's change the background color. It's already floating. Don't float, sir. Height, no, I want to demonstrate something different. Okay. So we can now style. I see. So what can we do? Let's set up this page. Let me even remove this. Let's remove that part. Let's change the positioning or the display of our header. Now, remember we already set the header to be to be fixed, so that means it will not move. Another thing we can do is, let me come down here so that we can see. We can set the positioning of maybe in display. Let's say display. One other display that we can use is flex. Let's say display flex. Now let me see. Let me see left side. Let's say middle, and let's say okay, right side. Thank you. So you can see this is our left, this is the middle, and the right. And it's like our right has already taken a width. Yes, this width of 200. So let me remove it so that you see the way they are. So this is the way everything is before the image, before the background color, sorry. So let me style the middle. Let's bring in the middle. Let me bring the middle. And let me bring, I think, the right side. Wait now. The right side. Okay. So we'll just go ahead to style. So I observed that the middle section here, we have our search box there. So let me just come to this middle section here and just remove this. And inside I'll just have an input of text. Maybe we can set a placeholder of search. I don't know, my system is, it's like it's reading my mind. So let's see what we have. So our search bar is now there. So the next thing we can do is we can set the direction. Now grid and flex, they are a way of developing site to make it flexible. I just use the word flexible. Flex makes it flexible. I hope I'm not confusing somebody. Grid is more rigid, flexible is more flexible. That's why it's called flex, especially when it comes to setting up your element on the screen while working with div. One of the way we can use flex, I can actually use grid, but I've used grid somewhere else. There's no point using grid again. So I'm using flex now so that I can explain flex. We can actually use grid to solve this, but I want to use flex so that I can explain flex. So if you want a flexible layout, then you use flex. When certain arrangement changes based on screen levels, then you can use flex for a more flexible layout. Grid is also flexible, but not as flexible as flex. So we'll see how to use flex in a second. So I can set one other thing I can set along flex is the direction. I can set it to, sorry, not to, let's say flex, flex direction, set it to row. If I set to column, they will be sitting one on top of each other, column, you see. they will be sitting on each other. But if I want them to be side by side, I want them to be distributed across the row. So I will set them to row. So that is one thing we can use with uh, flex. So one thing we can do, let's set a background color. Let's say maybe, let's see, let me set it that way. Yeah. So maybe this last part, let's give it a background color of I'll still remove it just for clarity. Okay. Now we have a width, or maybe let's go to YouTube in short. Let me open the YouTube page here. Now if I open a typical YouTube page here, please, I want you to pay attention on the header here. If I try to reduce the screen, you will discover that the only part that adjusts is the middle section. You see the middle section keeps getting smaller, keeps getting smaller. The text box keeps shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. But you observe that the left part where we have the YouTube logo is not shrinking. I don't know if you can see what I'm saying. Please confirm to me if you see what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you observe the left part where we have the YouTube logo, if I reduce the screen size, that part is not reducing. Even the right part where you have the create, the icon, and the profile picture is also not reducing, it's not shrinking. The only part that is shrinking is where you have the text box. So that's first thing you must observe about this page. Now let's go back. Where's my okay. So what we will do to achieve that kind of thing is we have to set a particular width for the left and right so that while the screen is reducing, they will maintain their size. Then we'll do something different about the middle. So what do we do? We'll go to the left section here, the left side of it. We can set a definite width, let's say maybe width of 200 pixels. Yes, let's see. Let me increase it. Now if I try to reduce it, you discover it's no longer reducing. I've not actually moved it. Let me make it more clearer. Now for the middle section, when we work to a grid, if we want to take the entire space, we use one FR. I said the flex is somewhat similar to the grid. So if we want to achieve that kind of effect where you want that div to take the entire space, like the way grid, we demonstrated with grid where we use one FR. So the way we can do this is we can set the flex, property. Remember, we've already set the display here to be flex. That's the container. Now, the child itself, where is it? The header. That is the middle section of the header. This div right here. this particular one, middle. We set a particular flex property for it as we set a flex of 1. This one does exactly what the grid 1F hard will do. Okay, so if I do that, if I open up, now you discover is now taking, where did I put it? Sorry, I put it on the left. I wanted to put it at the middle. Yes, the middle. So for the middle, I will say flex 1. So if you see, the middle part has taken the entire space. So even while I reduce, the middle will always be reducing. So that's one way to go about that. And let's say let's set a width for the, let's say maybe 300, say 300. Now let me give a background color here so that you see this other effect. Let me give the middle a background color, just so you see what I'm demonstrating. Okay, so let's go to the middle part of it, and let's try to give a gap in between this place. You know, for grid, if we are doing this with grid, we'll be doing it with the column gap, but we are not using grid here. We want to explain flex. Now flex doesn't have that kind of function where you specify the space between the columns or row. So you do that automatically using your margin. So let's say I want to give a space in between this place. So from the middle, if I do it from the middle, I will be giving a margin left. If I'm doing it from the left, I will be giving a margin right. So let's say I try to achieve that from the, so I can just say a margin, I can say maybe a margin, please hold on, please. 1 minute, let me just, okay. Sorry for that. So let's just set a background, a margin right, a margin left now. Let's do margin left of maybe 20 pixels. That should create that space. And you might also want to set to the other end, maybe margin right, of maybe 30 pixels. So you can see, if I open the entire screen, so you see the left and right are not adjusting, but the middle part keeps shrinking. So this is one of the way we can achieve this. All right, so let's take it one after the other. Let's look at the left part of it. Let's go to the left part. Let me separate this. So let's bring in the hamburger and the YouTube logo here. So those are images. So let's just say image, let's say I think I have icons folder. Icon folder. I'll just go to the icon folder. I'll pick icons. So let me pick. I have some icons here. Let me pick the hamburger. Let me just make a copy of this, and let me change this one to. I think there is a YouTube logo. Okay, so they are there now. But then if you look at the YouTube page, I've not closed it. Now if you look at the YouTube page, you discover if the screen is small, it disappears. At a point, it comes out and starts growing and keeps growing. Then it gets to a point, it stops growing. Just this point from here. It stops growing from here. It stops growing like this. But if I shrink it a little bit, it keeps shrinking. At this point, it's shrinking. But if I open it up, when you get to this particular point, it stops growing. It stops growing. So how do we do that? Now, first off, let's go to come on guys. Let me bring this closer. So how do we achieve that? We can set to the middle section right here. We can set a maximum width. Let's say maybe maximum width, max width. Maybe let's say maybe 300 for instance, or 350 pixels. Now let's see what that does. Now you see, if you observe something here, at a point it starts growing, and before you know it, it stops growing. Here you can see it's growing, it's growing, it's growing, and at this point it stops growing. It stops growing. But from here, you see the green part has reduced, and it's growing, it's growing, it's growing, it's growing, it's growing, it's growing. So before we have that everything stretch across the page. So that's how we want to achieve that. Now the next thing we need to do is we want to distribute these items, the left, center, and right. We want to distribute them across. Just one of the function we can do is when you go to the container, we do it at the container. Where's the container now? the header, yes, right here. We already set flex direction to be row. Another thing we can do is justify content. We can say space between, and with that it's going to create space in between them. That's what we mean by space between. So let me increase this max width by maybe like 600. Yes, I think it's better now. So as it comes alive, you're going to be seeing how all these things wrap up. So remember, we've imputed two images here. Let's give it some class. Let's give this one class. Let's say the burger icon. Let's give this class. The class. Let's give it a class. Let's call this YouTube logo. That one is good. So let's go and style. First off, let me target um, the images inside. Now there are a few ways we can do this. First off, if I target the class, which is side left, and I want to target the uh, the child within this div called side left has two children. These two image, they are the children. So if I want to target these two image, I can say, okay, target this class, and then if I put space there, it means I want to visit the children in that class. Say I want to target the images in that class. So what this line of code does is to access this class and target all the images within this class only. It's going to target the image within this class. So what can we do there? We can set the height. We can set the height to, let's say, 30 pixel. My YouTube logo is not coming up. I think I got the name wrong. Okay, right there. I got the spelling wrong. So now we have our logo there. Let me decrease the height, maybe 25 pixels. So I think it's still small. It's still small. Let me bring it to 20 pixels. Right, I think it's okay like this. All right, so now let's also go to that right section. One of the things we can do there is to set the display. We want it to be flexible. We can say maybe a display flex. Remember, we are just working with flex here. Like I said, you can use grid, but I want to explain flex. So we can set this flex, and the moment I set that flex, this particular box. Now remember, we already set the header as flex. That flex only affects what is inside this header. It doesn't go into any other element. So this flex only end within this region. It doesn't affect these images inside here. It only affects this one. So if I want to make this element inside this side left flex, I have to set this positioning or this display to flex. So the flex I set on the head doesn't affect the children or the grandchildren. Now because this is the parent, these are the children, this is the child 1, child 2, child 3. No, this one is not child 3. Left side and middle, okay. Here, this is child 1, child 2, the middle, and the right child 3. The flex effect I set on this parent head only affect the children, the direct children. But their grandchildren, it doesn't affect them. So if you want the flex to affect them, you have to flex their parent. This is the grandparent, this is the parent, and these are the children, the grandchildren. All right. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So what we will now do now is we set uh where is it? Yeah, we set this part to flex. We set that part to flex. Another thing we can do is to set the margin right. We set the margin right of okay, before we do that, let's set a justify content to center. We did that earlier. Then we can also say uh, align item so that you can align everything to the center. Oh, not this one. Sorry. Am I missing something? Let me basic. Oh, I know I'm getting something wrong. I was doing it on the left. Sorry, supposed to be on the left, not on the right. Okay, so let me remove this so that you can see what. Now this is how the positioning happened. I converted it to flex, and I said the flex direction is already row, so I just want to justify content. I'll justify. Let's do align. Align item. Align item center. Brings it to the center. Now we've already used space between. So what we need, we need to do here is to give some space here. If you check, uh, there's a space here, and there's also space here between the logo and the hamburger and the logo. There's a space there. So how do we get that down? So I can set up. Why am I keep going to the right? So on our hamburger, remember we set hamburger icon here. We can target that. Let me put it close to the left, because I'm working on the left. Let me keep it close to the left. Right there. So let's set margin left, good, of 20 pixels. I think that one should be okay like that. Let me increase the height slightly, it's too short, maybe 25. I think it's okay like that. Okay, let me increase the height of the, let me bring this up so that I will put all style close to each other. Now let's leave that down. Okay, let me increase this to maybe 25. Yes. So let's set a margin right, maybe to like 24 pixels. 24. Sorry, margin right, maybe 24 pixels. I think it's okay. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's close. It's close enough to the original one. Yes, I think it's close. So I think I can remove this background color now. So we've achieved this left part of the design. We've achieved this left of so let's go to the middle part. Let's go to the middle part. One of the things we can do at the middle part also, just similar to what we have. If you look at the design, there is we have two buttons at the center there. One of them is the voice search and the search icon. So let's quickly get that two buttons. How do we do that? Let's go back to the center part. In the middle part of it here, let's create two buttons. Let's create two button, just two button. What's this? Yes. So inside this first button, let's input the site icon there. We can get our image. Then second one, we have our image, our source, icons, slash, I think it's a voice icon. Maybe I will drop these icons for you on the group so that you can have access to them or something. Okay, so we have our icons, but why is this icon not showing? Probably I got the name wrong. My system tried to predict for me. Let me see. Okay, search. Just search. I think it's in there now. So it's there now. Where is the text box? Let me look for the text box. Text box. I'm at the middle section, right? Yes, I think it's there, but I need to see it. Right here. There is a text box here. Okay, it's there. So let's target the middle. Let's target the middle. I already have the middle here. So one of the things we can do in the middle there is to target. Let me give these things a class. Let's give this button a class. Let's target the button. We can say search let's see search btn, search button. Then let's also target the other button. Let's say class. Okay, voice search button is good. So let's go to our CSS now. Let's go to our CSS and let's target the search button. Where's the search button? Let me open this up. Yeah, this search button here. Let's tie that. I can even write a comment here. Let's say middle session. So all this type for the middle comes there. So I can target the search button and I can set maybe the width. I can say maybe the width, maybe like 50 pixels, maybe, and maybe height. I can set the height to like maybe 40 pixels. Let me see how that looks like. Okay, not bad. Height. Okay, then the other one, let's take a look at the other icon. What was the name again? Voice search button. Just style it here, and let's set the width, maybe 40, height 40. Let's set them to 40, 40. Then another thing is to align them into the center. So how do we target that? Let's go to the middle here. We'll set the display as flex, then maybe align item center. So if you save that, you see, I think one more thing, display. Then we can say maybe yes, everything is well stretched. So we can target the text box now. I think we'll give it a class of search. Where is it? Okay, let's give it a class of search. Let's say maybe search bar. I'll give it a search bar. Whoa. Please, I will need to stop it here. We are already 2 hours gone. I will continue from where we left off in our next class. You can also try to see if you can complete it, and hopefully we can complete the whole project in our next class. Feel free to engage all our social media platforms. If you have any question, just drop your question and you will be guided accordingly. Within now and tomorrow morning, the video should be ready on our YouTube. Do well to catch up. If you missed any of our session, you can also catch up on our YouTube page, and I will see you in the next class. Good night, everyone.